Ravina Sar Sakina Babavel. There was a minhag that they would show the shchita knife to the Mordasra, to the major Talmud. Kenny says I can't get in.
Yeah, but it's nothing to do with us. It's his phone. Oh, his internet.
Here, I'll FaceTime with him.
Well, I can send him afterwards the file.
Do you have his phone number?
Hold on. I think I should.
Oh, here we go.
It should be in the chat, the number.
Three ten 1482.
Kenny, you want to do Face? I have you on FaceTime.
That's fine. It doesn't bother anybody else.
No, okay. Okay, so we're on Samach Gimel Lamed Aleph. Ravina Sar Sachina Babavel. There was a minhag that before they did shchita, they would the butchers would show the knife to the chacham because of kavod for the chacham. Amar Ravashi, my time of it Marhachi. Ravashi asked Ravina, why you do that? Amar Lei, Vaharavamnuna Oire Bacharta the Argas B'Shain Rav Chizda, meaning Ravina would check his own knife. He didn't show it. Ravashi was Ravina's Rebbe, and Ravashi was the Morda Asra and Masa Masa. So Ravashi was bothered. Why didn't Ravina show the knife to him? So he gave the example which we learned yesterday, that Rav Huna would paskin even in the city while Rav Chizda was alive, because Rav Chizda didn't live there, even though Rav Chizda lives in Bavel. So Ravina wanted to say as well that he checked the knife because he wasn't in Mosa Machse where Ravashi lived. Omer lei lav uri itmar. It's not that he paskin, it's he didn't paskin is the correct language. Lav uri. He did not paskin, Rav Amnuna did not paskin in Charta Argis. But Ravina responded, Omer lei itmar uri. The Itmar lawyer, no. There were two Mesoros. One Mesorah said he did paskin. The other Mesorah said he didn't paskin. Bishani to Rav Huna Rabbe. When Rav Huna, his Rebbe Muvak was alive, who deloy Ori? He did not paskin. But in Rav Ori, Bishani Rav Chizda. But he was a Talmud Chaver. He was like a colleague. He knew as much as Rav Chizda. But he had learned something from Chizda, so that he's called a Talmud Chaver. The Talmud Chaver Dileyav. He did paskin when Rav Chizda was alive, because he considered him a Talmud Chaver. Va'anonami Talmud Chaver demarana. Ravina held himself to be a Talmud Chaver with Ravashi, and that's why he checked his own knife. Amar Rava Survim Rabbanon Chazil Nafshe. The halacha is that a Talmud Chacham can check his own knife. He doesn't have to show it to the Rebbe. If he's shechting his own animal and he's going to eat his own meat. Ravina ikla l'mechuzah. Ravina was traveling to Mechuzah. I see ushpezichne sakina v'kamach v'lei. He stayed in an inn and he checked the knife of that inn before eating the meat. Amar lei zilam tele Rava. You know what? It's not appropriate. You should go show the knife to Rava. Amar lei. So Ravina said, "What do you mean? Lo savar marhadam Rava tzur rabban chal chazil nafshe." Don't you agree with the halacha that a Talmid Chacham can check his own knife? Amar lei ana mizvin zvina. So they responded to him that you're not just eating your own meat here. The innkeeper is going to sell meat to other people. So in essence, it's like a butcher. So it's going to be sold commercially. So there, the minhag was to send the to show the knife to the Talmid Chacham. Simin zila lanyo machlif ikaviyakov. Rabbi Yezer Magrunya. Rabbi Bar Tachlifa iklu be Ravacha beRavika. Rabbi Eliezer Bar Gruni and Rabbi Bar Tachlifa were visiting Ravacha, Ba'asrei Ravacha Bar Yaakov, where Ravacha was the more Asra there. Boy Ravacha braid Rav Iker, Lemevelu Igla Tilsa. Ravacha requested that they make him an egel that is 1/3 of its size, which was a delicacy. So they brought a knife and they checked it. Aren't you afraid of Ravacha Braid Ravika? He's the more dasher. You should show it to him. We have the halacha in the name of Rava that every Talmid Chacham could check his own knife. Chazit, so he checked his own knife, but came out Iyanish Rav Eliezer Magruni. He got punished. He got a punishment bidei shamayim because he disturbed the covet of that he was supposed to show the knife to the Zakeh. Afraid to Gemara, why should he get punished? Rava said that a Talmid Chacham can check his own knife. Why should he be punished? You know what? They discussed the issue of showing it to the Rebbe. So since it was brought up already, he should not have checked it himself. They should have shown it. They should have defaulted to showing it to the Zakeh. The boy Semer Shani Ravacha Bar Yaakov the Muslim. Ravacha Bar Yaakov not only was a Talmid Chacham, he was very old. So there were two reasons. Rashi says Harbei Ma'od Hayazakim B'Chacham. So they should have bent over backwards and showed it to Ravacha. That's why he was punished. Amar Rava. So we've learned that you're not allowed to paskin a halach in front of your Rebbe. However, lafrushe meisura, if you see another Jew who's going to violate a halacha, afilu b'fon of shapir dami, then you can speak up even in front of your Rebbe, even in front of him. And the Gemara gives us a story. Ravina Abba Yosef Kamed Ravashi. Ravina was visiting Ravashi. Ravina saw a man tying up his donkey to a palm tree. Now you're not allowed to use a palm tree on Shabbos. So Rava Bekala, Ravina raised his voice and told him, you're not supposed to do this. V'lo ashgich bey. And the guy didn't listen. Amr lei, levi ha'gaver b'shamta. Okay, I put him into cherem. Now, in a sense, it's paskening in front of your Rebbe. So Amr lei ki ha'gavna mi mischazikav karusa. So Ravina asked his Rebbe Ravashi, is this too much of am I taking too much of a liberty to do this in front of you? Said Ravashi, says no, because when it comes to violating Hashem's law, you're allowed to stop a Jew from violating the Torah. There's no issue of chokhmah and kavod when it comes to chilul Hashem. If there's chilul Hashem going to be all of these laws regarding kavod for the Rav, fall by the wayside. Amar Rav, the fun of Aser. If you paskin in front of your Rebbe in his face, it's prohibited v'chayiv misa, and you'll get misa b'dei shamayim. Now, shalom b'fanav, if you're not in front of him, Aser, but the ain't chayiv misa. You're still prohibited, but you're not chayiv misa. Freit the Gemara of a shalom b'fanav lo. I'll show you that even shalom b'fanav it's a problem. Vatanya, Rabbi Ezra Omer, lo mesu b'nei Aaron ad shahar halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbon. Nadav aviyu. One of the reasons they died is because they were hoira halacha b'fnei Rabbo. My darush. What drasha did they learn? It says v'nosnu b'nei Aaron hakohen eish ala mizbeach. It says the b'nei Aaron should put fire on the mizbeach. Amru. Even though the fire is going to come down from Shamayim to consume the korbanos, mitzvah lahavim min ha'hedyon. It's still a mitzvah to bring fire from your personal, from your own personal asset. So they paskin in front of Moshe. The Talmid Echad Rabbi Eliezer Shor Halacha B'Fanav. There was a Talmid of Rabbi Eliezer who paskin halacha in front of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer li'ima shalom ishto. Rabbi Eliezer said to his wife, Ima shalom, Tamei aniyim yotzi zeh shnasu. I wonder whether this guy is going to live out the year. The lahotzi shnasu, and he didn't live out the year. He was punished b'dei shamayim. Amra lo naviata. So Ima shalom, the wife of Rabbi Eliezer, said, "Are you a navi?" Amra lo navi anochi. V'lo ben navi anochi. I'm not a navi. I'm not the son of a navi. Elakach mekublani. Kol hamoira halacha b'fnei Rabbo chayiv misa. That's the Masorah I have. V'amar Rabbi Bar Chana Rav Yechon. Also Talmid Yehuda ben Guriah Shmo. This Talmid was Yehuda ben Guriah. V'hayarachol b'menu shalosh parsos. So you just told me before that shalom b'fanav aser v'ein chayiv misa, but here this story of the person who died was 3 parsos away from Rabbi Eliezer. So the Gemara says, no. B'fanav. No. This Talmud, paskin in front of Rabbi Eliezer was b'fanav. Freit the Gemara, what do you mean? V'harachal b'menu shalosh parsos ka'amar. I thought you said the Brisa said that he was 3 parsos away. Why did they give the name? That means they took the 3. He came from a place that was 3 parsos away. But when he paskin halacha, he did it in front of Rebbe. He did it in front of his Rebbe, and that's why he suffered misa b'dei shamayim. He's subject to be bitten by a snake. Shene'amar Vayan Elihu ben Barachel Abuzi. He was one of the visitors of Iyuv. Vayomer Tzairani liyamim al kain zochalti. Uksiv im Hamas zochalei ofar. Im Hamas zochalei ofar refers to snakes creeping on the dirt. And Elihu also he made a comment in front of Iyuv. So this is how we have to understand. So Ziri Amar of Chanina Nikra Chote, that a Mora Halacha b'fnei Rabbo is called a Chote. Shneimar Bilibi Tzofanti Imrasech Lamon Lo Echtalach. He didn't want to sin to Iyuv. Rav Amnuna Rami. Rav Amnuna showed stira. Ksiv Bilibi Tzofanti Imrasech. I keep your words in my heart, hidden. Uksiv Bisarti Tzedek B'Kol Rav. I announced your tzidkus publicly. This refers to David HaMelech. So there were some times where David HaMelech would paskin publicly, and sometimes he would be silent. Why is that? Lo kasha kan bizman she'ira haya'iri kaya. Ira haya'iri was the Rebbe of David HaMelech. So So when his Rebbe was alive, David HaMelech did not say any divrei Torah. Kan bisman shira yari kayim. He was quiet. Kan bisman sheni yari kayim. When his Rebbe had passed away, then David HaMelech would publicly say Torah. A person is supposed to give his trumas and matnos kuna to many kohanim. If you give it to one kohen, maybe rav lo'olam, you'll bring famine. Shenemar ira ya'iri ya kohen leDavid. The pasuk in Shmuel says that ira ya'iri was David's kohen. David who David kohen l'kulam lo'avi. What do you mean? He was a kohen only for David, not for the whole world. David sent all of his trumas and maasros matonos to Yairi. Immediately afterwards, Uksiv Basrei, Vayira Av b'mei David. So it seems to connect giving your matonos only one coin to a famine. Rav Eliezer Oimer, Moiridin Oso Migdulasa, that if you paskin halach in front of your Rebbe, you're knocked down a peg. That means you don't remain on, in an exalted state. Shneimar, Vayomer Elazar Kohen el Anshei Hatzava. When they went to do battle with Midian, it says Elazar Kohen told the army, now he told them, listen, the commandment was given to my father's brother Moshe, right? Elazar's father Aaron had a brother Moshe. So he told the people he was telling that this doesn't come from me, this comes from Moshe. He was punished. What was the punishment? When Moshe was told to appoint Yoshua, so he was said that eventually Yoshua is going to stand in front of Elazar HaKohen. He may need to ask the Urim V'Tumim. But we find that Yoshua did not need to ask Elazar anything. That was the punishment. Rav Levi. Person who speaks salach in front of his Rebbe, he'll go into the grave without children. This is when Eldad and Medad were prophesying in the Machane. So Yoshua said to Moshe, I will destroy them. So in response to that, Yoshua bin Nun, it means he didn't have any children. Because it said Uksiv Nun, Beno Yoshua Beno, and no further children after Yoshua. Weiter. Uplige Rababa Bar Papa.
Yeah, Ernie, I want to ask you something. Ernie.
Yes.
Yeah, how could Moshe Rabbeinu, Yisro told Moshe Rabbeinu to appoint judges, and then if they didn't know, then they'll come back to Moshe. So how could they appoint judges when they would rule something more b'fnei Rabbo? Moshe was still. How would they allow it to be paskin when Moshe?
But he taught them everything. They didn't paskin. He paskin for them. They didn't paskin on their own.
But
Moshe had paskin the halacha, and so if someone didn't know, they would go to Moshe and ask him. But otherwise, he had taught them all the halacha. We remember that there was a 4-part limud.
Right,
Moshe taught it,
right.
and Aaron taught it, and then
Moshe
taught it to not.
All
so
right.
Moshe,
But even still, let's say if they paskin, because they were you're still b'fnei Moshe, or even before in their Rebbe, let's say went above. So how would they be allowed to do it? I mean, they knew even if they knew the halacha, they still couldn't paskin because Moshe was alive and Elazar was alive, and the Yeshua, and then the Chachamim, and how were the judges allowed?
I would
to make it?
assume that the judgment that they rendered were already halacha psuka. It wasn't that the halacha was not known and they paskined in front of their Rebbe. All the halachas were given to them by Moshe already. So when they rendered judgment, that's not considered paskening halacha before their Rebbe. He already adjudicated. He already explained. In this situation, the guy is chayv misa. So they didn't end up paskening.
All right.
Perhaps. I hear the question. But it was not considered halacha psuka because it was already paskin by Moshe.
Could a Rebbe tell his Talmud, allow him to paskin if he was in the same city? Is he allowed to give permission to his Talmud to paskin, even if he's on? Is he allowed to, give up his covet for?
Yeah. Rebbe's only a melech can give up his covet. Remember, melech shemochel kvoidoi ein kvoidoi mochel.
Right.
I think that's the only exception.
Okay, thank you.
The Shach says, Talmud Chaver Toch Sholish Parsos Osir Laros B'Fnei Rabbo. V'chutz l'shalosh parsos mutter. If you are 12 mil away from your Rebbe, you're allowed to paskin. V'im noto reshus merabo afilu b'toch sholish parsos mutter, says the Ramah and the Shach and the Gra. Af ki l'tamid muvik osir b'chol mikra. But I guess to a Rebbe you can't, no matter what. If it's your Rebbe Muvik, you can. If it's a Talmud Chaver, you can. I guess you can't be noitel reshus from if you're a Talmud Muvik. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Weiter. Upligid Rav Abba bar Papa. Rav Abba bar Papa. Loinenesh Yoshua. That's not the reason why Yoshua was punished. Is Bishvil Shabitel is Yisrael Laila Achas Mepri of Revia. Because of a certain strategy, he prevented Pru'ervu, he prevented husbands and wives of having relations one night. Shenema. Vayibios Yoshua Biricho. Vayisaina Vayar. So remember, they took the Aron and they used it to circle the town of Yericho. So they separated the Aron from the Mishkan in Shiloh, in Gilgal. There's going to be a halacha that if the Aron is not with the Mishkan, you can't have relations. So that night, a malach appeared to Yoshua. Ksiv, Vayomer lo ki ani sar tzva Hashem ata bosi. I came now. Omer lo, the malach said, Emesh bitatem tomit shaben arbayis. Yesterday, when you were doing battle, you didn't offer the korban of the Talmud in the afternoon. And not tonight, when you're still encamped, Achshav bitatem Talmud Torah. And now you're mevatel Talmud Torah. So Yoshua asked him, Al eze mehen basa. Which one did you come for? Omer lo ata basi. I came because of the bittul Talmud Torah. Miyad, vayelech Yoshua b'layla hu b'tocha emek. It says Yoshua went that night into the valley. We learned this in Yoshua. That he didn't really, it's a play on words. That means he didn't learn stammat, he learned deeply. Ugmiri, the Kozman Sha'arnu Shechina Shurin Shalobim Koman Asur Mitash Mishamita. That night, when they were in Vatal Talmud Torah, because they were laying ambush to the city, and that night they didn't return the Aron to its place in Gilgal. And so therefore there was no bittul, there was no tashmish amita, so there was bittul pruvu. So it's mida keneged mida that Yoshua is punished with not having children. Because they could have brought the Aron back. Aron shul bar inash made the rab. Gadol Talmud Torah Yosef Makravas Smidim. This is a raya the Talmud Torah is even more important than Akrovas Tmidim. The Amr Le'atabasi, because the Malach said there were two Averas. You didn't bring the Talmud, and now you're being Mevatel Talmud Torah because you're in ambush. Fine. You should have restricted your ambush to the daytime. And you should have learned at night. And he was mochiach them for that. And therefore it's a bigger crime to Mevatel Talmud Torah than the Mevatel the Talmud. The person sneaks into the room or is in the room where husband and wife are there, and it's going to prevent them from having relations. He'll be cursed from Micha. And they're embarrassed for the person. That's and it's not proper. That means even if the guy was there preventing them from having tashmish and his wife was a nida, he still gets punished. But says Rava, what are you talking about? Ishto nida, he tovel of bracha. No, he should be given a bracha that he aided the husband from staying away from his wife, who he's prohibited to. However, the Gemara doesn't accept that. Lohi, dada idna man notori. No, men and women stay away from each other when they're nida. You don't need any excess or extra prevention that Klal Yisrael already does. Okay. Hahu mavua. There was a mavui. Davadai bar Lachman baristik. Lachman was a non-Jew. He lived in this mavui. We've learned that in order to carry from the bayis into the mavui or the chotzer, you have to do schiras reshus. You have to rent the reshus of the non-Jew that he has in the chotzer. Omer lei, oiger lon reshuscha. So they asked Lachman, please rent us your portion of the chotzer. Loy oiger lu. He didn't want to do it. I'll give you an eitzah. There's 5 Jewish families that live in this chotzer. Each one of you batel your reshus to one of them. So now it's really going to be one Jew and one non-Jew. We learned yesterday that one Jewish family house that opens up into a chotzer with a non-Jew, that the Rab Meir hold, the Rab Eliezer ben Yaakov held that it didn't prohibit, and you could use the chotzer. So that's how he gave the eitzah. On relay midi who taima. The whole is ela de lo shchiach the dairi. The whole reason why we allowed that to happen is because we said one Jewish family usually will not. It's not shchiach that they'll live with a Gentile because they're afraid they're gonna get murdered. And yet here they're living with him, so maybe it doesn't work. So I'm a little called b'tulim shusayu gabichad. Yeah, but you don't understand this thing that you guys are doing, where all 5 of you are being mevatel yerushalayim to one guy, is also milsa de zo shchicha. Is a rare event. Milsa de lo shchicha lo goz b'rabbanan. And therefore, there's no gzeira of not being able to carry from your house into the chotzer, because this is also a dover shalosh shchiyah. Also, Ravuna bred Rav Shua. Ravuna went. Amr l'shmaitza kamei de Rava. Said over the sug in front of Rava. Amr lei. Mario, we're going to Samech Dalid, which is tonight's blot. We're going to try